In 2024, I made $118,147. I invested $64,953. I saved $1,000 and spent $72,515. Let's get into the numbers. Hi friends, my name is Mariah. I'm a 31-year-old data engineer living in Ohio with my parents. And two things before we get started. The first being, you might have done some mental math and noticed that my spending and investing was more than what I earned in 2024. The reason for this is that I pulled out about $20,000 out of my high yield savings. $5,000 of that went to investments, $10,000 of that went to a business venture, and $5,000 of that went to spending and travel. And so if you did some math, that's why. I'll talk about that later in the video. The second thing is that later in the video, I talk about hitting Coast Fire. And if you're like, Maria, what is Coast Fire? Then boy, do I have something for you. Recently, I created the Fire Starter Kit, or Financial Independence Retire Early Starter Kit. And in this starter kit, there are three main parts. The first being a beginner's guide to investing, so kind of like Investing 101. The second part is a fire type guide, so it walks you through the 5 main types of fire and helps you figure out what fits your goals and your lifestyle. The third part is a fire calculator, so this will actually tell you whether or not you're on track to hitting your fire type and how much more you may need to invest in order to get there. And without further ado, let's get into the video. How much I made. So like I said, I made $118,147, and of that, 99.3% was from my 9-to-5. And about 0.7% was from working part-time as my church's admin. I only worked for 1 month in 2024. That was my last month on staff, and so that was about $700 or so that was paid out, and so that's the about 1% that didn't come from my 9-to-5. My general thoughts on this is that I would love to see my non-9-to-5 income increase drastically, and that's what I'm working towards in 2025, and that is what I'm really gonna go hard after in 2026. I invested $64,953. Let's break that down. So I maxed out my 401k, which is $23,000. I maxed out my IRA, which was $7,000. Also maxed out my HSA, which was $41,000, which is $4,150. Throughout the year, I had about $1,650 going towards the brokerage account for a total of about $19,000. And then also my company does not do a 401k match. We do profit sharing. So the idea of profit sharing is that I don't have to contribute anything to my 401k, but every person in the company gets a profit share as long as you work like 1,000 hours or something in that year. So my profit share was $9,700, and that is all company stock. On top of that, I also contributed to a 529. I contributed about $2,150. The idea is that currently I'm going through classes to become a personal finance counselor, which I'm very excited about. It's just a lot of people in my personal life are asking questions about personal finance, and it's just something that gets me really excited and energized to talk about personal finance and to help others with their finances. And so I just want to be certified as I'm like giving out information and what I do and whatnot. So I want to be aware of not just what I do, but what other people do, what other people suggest, and just in different ways to go about counseling someone on their finances. So all this to say, I put that money into a 529, and so I can get the tax benefit when I pull the money. I can't remember if it's tax benefit on when you put the money in or pull the money out, something like that. But that money is meant to pay for the classes that I'm taking. And I will have a full breakdown video of my net worth and my investments, but basically I'm investing mostly in low-cost index funds. So let's move on to savings. So in 2024, I saved $1,000, which I think, honestly, looking at Ramit Sethi's conscious spending plan, you should save, I believe, 5 to 10% of your income. $1,000 is less than 1% of my income, and so I definitely think I could increase that, which is part of the reason why I started contributing for a new car. That $1,000 was for a new car, which put an asterisk on that because I was in a car accident in 2025, and we'll make a video about my plans for what I'm going to do with car stuff. But yeah, the $1,000, I could be better about making like an actual sinking fund for travel, which I think I said was one of my goals for 2025, but we are now in August and I have not done that. But I think, yeah, leveraging more sinking funds could be good. for me. But basically all my money just goes to travel and investments. And travel, it's like kind of just book at that time. I'm not doing any super crazy travel. It's really just my snowboarding in Utah that is quite expensive, but I book all that stuff in around September. Basically I use kind of some of my bonus to cover that, so that's why I don't really have much sinking funds, but it's something to think about. Now let's move on to my spending. So I spent $72,000, which is crazy. That's really crazy. One thing I don't like about the dashboard is that it considers giving spending, which, like, yes, it is spending because it's no longer my money, but I wish giving was a separate category. Yeah, so anyways, over the course of 2024, I gave about $15,000. So of that $72,000, really about $57,000 was actual spend, in my opinion. Okay, so of the $72,000, the three largest categories for me were fun, travel, and giving. So fun was about $20,000, travel was about $18,000, and giving was about $15,000. Fun, travel, and giving being my top three categories. I feel okay about it. At first I was like, over 50% of my money is going to fun and travel, which travel is fun, which is kind of crazy, but also what are we doing here if we're not having fun? And it's also like, this is spending. I spent and invested almost the same exact amount of money, about $65,000 and $72,000, which really the 72, like I said, would be more like $57,000 if we subtract giving. Having invested more than I spent, I feel good about that. I think my investment rate for the year was about 46%, which then puts everything in perspective of like, yeah, I did. My largest categories are like fun and travel, but also that's only 50% of my income in a way. Yeah, at first I was like, oh, but it's really not so crazy. Was a lot of the fun category was really the business that is not up and running. So yeah, we'll talk about that later, but fun and travel being the largest expenses and being about 50% is very eye-opening. But the good part and why I break out travel from fun is because I want to know what my travel budget is, how it's increasing or decreasing year over year, and how much I might expect in retirement. And so travel being about $18,000, which is quite a lot, it's about $1,500 a month. That's just a good number, and travel is a want, not a need. So it's easy to just be like, okay, this year I'm not going to travel at all, that's not an easy decision, but I could wipe out that entire category and have that extra $18,000 going towards investments or health expenses or whatever it might be. But breaking that out, especially as I age, I might slow down on my travels, which I envision. They might be more expensive, might be one travel a year, that's $18,000. I would say my top priorities are giving, investing, travel, and fun, pretty much. And then after that, it's like food and dining. These are these are kind of more like needs and stuff, which that being at 25%, and even some of this like miscellaneous is not a need. I think that's okay, personally. So a little bit of a shocker, but it's not including investment. Like if you look at the, what is it called, CNBC Make It Money series, they include investments. This pie chart is not including investments. So overall, my thoughts on my 2024 spending, investing, giving, all the things. I spent $72,000 minus the $15K that I gave. It's about $57,000. Of that $57,000, that breaks down to about $4,750 a month, which is above what I'm currently planning for in retirement. And so that's helpful to know, because then it's like, okay, should I reevaluate how much I might spend in retirement, or should I try and cut back? What might that look like, and how can I make these numbers work? But it's also a good reality check. It's just helpful to know if I'm being conservative or if I'm being very generous in my retirement numbers as I'm planning. The more data that I get year over year, the more helpful it'll be in retirement planning. So I'm not necessarily going to change all the numbers today, but over time they may change and adjust. So my highest spend month was September, where I spent $14,000, and my lowest spend month was May, where I spent about $2,800. So that is quite a large fluctuation. Part of the reason being, in September is when my bonus and profit sharing payout. Some of that goes towards, like I said, my winter travels in Utah in February. September, I think I also had a business expense that went into that number as well. And then monthly averages. So highest, lowest, that makes sense. You know, April I think was when some of my, I think I might have, I can't remember if I owed on taxes, and it might also be some, because I took a sabbatical in 2024, February through part of March. And so some of that, I believe, might be hitting my April credit card payment. Monthly averages, which I think monthly averages is really interesting, and I'm glad this dashboard provides that. Okay, monthly average. So income monthly average was 9,800, which again, generally it's more like this 7,800, but September, like I said, made a video about that, but that's when my bonus and profit sharing payout. Bills, $200 a month, kind of crazy. Seems low, but mainly Spotify. I stopped paying for Going. Basically, Going is a travel website software where you can get deals sent to you, but right now a lot of my travel is pre-planned. I don't really have capacity in terms of vacation days and even just money to be going on a random 1-week trip to Greece or whatever, so that's just not helpful. That subscription is not helpful for me right now because I have my travels planned through 2029. And so maybe when I retire that would be helpful, or maybe once I've gone to all the places that I really want to go to, then I can be like, okay, where are cheaper places or cheaper flights that I can take to go visit somewhere else. But right now it's just, that's just not helpful. Financial advisor, I still have my advisor. Google storage is $2 a month, and my phone, I did start paying for my phone to my mother. I think this is off, whoopsie, but so it might be a little higher. $200 a month on bills and subscription. Housing, $70 a month. So I live with my parents, very minimal housing costs. I did pay rent because I was living with a friend up until January. And then I had my sabbatical February, March, where I was in Utah, and then I moved back in with my parents in April when I came back to Ohio. So those are my housing costs. Yeah, some bed stuff, and yeah, moving out. Transportation, this is my car, so it's about $100 and something a month, $110 for insurance, and about $100-ish for gas. And so, and then maintenance as well. So that $260 makes sense. Food and dining. Honestly, I'm shocked that my monthly food average is $465. That's kind of crazy. Also, when I'm traveling, I put it under travel food. So that's why February is like $80 because I was in Utah, and then March, half of the month I was here. So $450 is kind of crazy. But maybe with February and like taking out my sabbatical, it'd be more like 500-ish. I imagine, that's fine by me. Health and fitness. Health and fitness was about $240 a month, which that's fine by me because health is important. Fun was about $1,600, which again is a lot. The business was $12,000. So a very pretty penny spent on that, which is a learning, I would say. But I mean, $1,500 to me, it sounds like a lot monthly, like on hobbies and stuff. Yeah, that's a lot. Probably wish, I would say a learning for the business stuff is just spending less, trying to be more scrappy, instead of like having everything be perfect from the start. And so easily could have knocked that number down to like $1,000, and maybe that might be kind of like my cap for 2025-ish is $1,000 for the whole year, something like that. But then I think, okay, I should be willing to invest maybe like 5% of my income in starting a new venture that might garner more than 5% of my income. So that would be more like $5,000 or a little more. Yeah, so I guess this $12,000 is about 10% of my income, which isn't crazy, but I think, yeah, 5% would probably be more something I'm comfortable with. Okay, and then giving was about $1,300. Again, my income was about $138,000 before taxes, so $1,300 is about 10% of that pre-tax number. And then miscellaneous being $400 seems kind of high for miscellaneous. But again, if that's like what 3-4% of my income over the course of the year, I don't think that's too crazy. What is the biggest category? Was education. So I think that's fine. And then subscriptions. Oh, shopping and gifts. Shopping and gifts, yeah. I think spending $1,000, $1,200 on gifts over the course of a year is not crazy for my income. And then shopping. Oh, I did buy some new snow gear, which I'm excited. Yeah. Well, I'm filming this in August, so I already wore some of it. But I'm really excited to wear it again for next winter 25-26. But yeah, that was really great. Not sure shopping in January. Oh, I did buy some in January. Yes, I think I bought, yeah, the bulk of it in January. But anywho, travel being about $1,500, that's about 10% of my pre-tax income monthly. So I think that's okay. And then business expense, which probably should break out this fun hobby business should come down to probably business expense. And then investments, about $5,500 a month invested. That to me is shocking, honestly, because in my head I invest about $2,500. In my head I invest about $2,500 a month. That reminded me of the video where the guy is mumbling as he's interviewing people to see how they respond.
As everyone's out here, you guys are with the Falcons, you guys are here in Atlanta. Yeah. Is there any point like Hushpur, like especially they come forward, like is that something like you used to look at?
Say that again?
Just like have everyone like come around, like especially like for you, is that like especially like come forward, like especially like you do look at?
Say that one more time?
Just like all like come around, like especially that's like kind of something like just like for like just like with that training camp?
Yeah.
Why?
Just because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what about like especially like they say like push mirrors that like come forward, like is that like especially like all like kind of around come?
No. We had to push today. It was a hard day to push through, so yeah, definitely had to push through it.
Yeah. Like kind of like with push mirror, like that's like all like they come forward back.
Man, you could. Hey, you doing that on purpose?
Yeah, we're fucking with you.
Oh.
Anyways, $5,500 a month is not too crazy. $5,500 a month is a lot higher than I thought, because I thought I invest about $2,500 a month, $2,000 for 401k to max that out, and about $500 for my IRA. But then you also have to include HSA because I am investing in that account, and then also my brokerage as well, and also my profit sharing is like $9,000. So it's almost like $1,000 a month just from that one profit share. So anyways, that was surprising. $5,400 is surprising. And then sinking funds, again, this I want to be better about this. Investing $1,000, it's pitiful, really. But those are my numbers for, yeah, you can see the savings and investment. It's bad. And then this again, September, October should have been when my bonus and profit sharing paid out. But yeah, so my biggest regret, I would say, is the $12,000 spent on business stuff. Yeah, should have been half that, but man. Let's check in on my goals for the year. My goals were, one, reconcile my budget each month by the 5th of the next month, which I did not do. There were, I think it was March, April, May, or May, June, July, or March, April, May, June, where I didn't do a budget at all, just put my transactions in. And then I will grow my emergency fund. I decided I don't need to grow my emergency fund because which I can get to down here, decided not to buy a house. I don't think I want to buy a house until I'm 40. And even then, I don't know. But I just don't want to do maintenance. I don't want to do repairs. I just think it's stressful. And right now I just have the luxury of living with my parents. And so I want to leverage that to travel, not to be paying down a mortgage, basically. And then, so that's why I decided not to grow my emergency fund more. So it's sitting at about 20,000, 21,000, something like that. Hit Coast Fire, 2,500, yes. Did that. I will be CFA certified in 2024, which did not happen. Working towards classes now. I will invest $80K towards retirement. Did invest 80,000. Did invested, what was it, 70? How much was it? I invested 65,000. It's a little off, but still a good chunk. I will make 200K, did not do that, and saving for a house and down payment and closing costs, did not do that. So honestly, we can cross this one out. But yeah, hit one goal. But these were lofty. How many was it? 2, 4, 6, 7 goals, hit one. So what is that, batting 15%? It's okay. So that is a recap on how much I earned, invested, saved, and spent in 2024. I will be making a video about my net worth and net worth breakdown, so stay tuned for that. I made it to the end, so you should give it a like. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.